The Arab world has been reacting to a new anti-corruption crackdown by Saudi Arabia. King Salman at the weekend ordered the arrest of billionaire Prince Alwaleed bin Talal. He is among 11 princes, 4 ministers and several former ministers caught up in the crackdown. The move is among several reforms underway in Saudi Arabia. King Salman ordered the creation of a new anti-corruption committee headed by his son, Prince Mohamed Salman. Billions of dollars in investment may be affected across the globe following the arrests. Stocks have already been falling following the news, but residents of Riyadh have welcomed the move.
Corruption should have been fought a long time ago because it's corruption which delays society's development.
There's no doubt that the detentions soothe the anger of the regular citizens who feel that such names and senior leaders who appeared in the list were immune from legal accountability. But its emergence and spread to the general population is evidence that no one is excluded from legal accountability, and this will eventually benefit the citizen and national development.
Well, let's get you more on that story now. I'm joined live from Cairo by CGTN's Yasser Hakim. Yasser, it seems that not even the high and mighty are being spared in this corruption crackdown. Just tell us a bit more about the country's anti-corruption probe.
Yes, just like you said, the government itself said no one is above the law anymore and that no one will escape punishment if indicted, especially when you see names of figures who are actually members of the royal family, relatives to the king himself, being detained for allegations of corruption. The probe led by the anti-corruption authority is actually spearheaded by the Crown Prince, the young Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the son of King Salman, who has been assuming more powers in the monarchy in the last few months. Obviously you've got power within the monarchy, powerful people there. If you hear names like Amir Mut'ab bin Abdullah, he's one of the powerful men in Saudi Arabia because he's the minister of the royal guards. This should be the closest to the king, the royal guards personal, the king's personal royal guards, and he has been detained and also accused of corruption. You've got Adil Al-Faqih, who is the minister of planning, economy and planning. He's a powerful man in the government and the family. And obviously Alwaleed bin Talal, the business tycoon internationally. And all this is showing that there is a change of power within the family, there is change of power within the country, and the probe is probably also looking at the future for Saudi Arabia as it rebuilds a new path, if you may call it. Remember, the Crown Prince also spearheaded what we all know now as the women allowed to drive cars, and this is also something new in the country. And it's obviously we can see some kind of a revolution in the thinking of the Saudi royal family or the Saudi leadership, taking paths that were unthinkable before, such as the women driving, or today combat on corruption from the strongest against the strongest personalities in the kingdom.
Well, of course, as you say, as you call it, this new path that Saudi Arabia is on, indeed the region is paying attention. Has there been any reaction so far from the Arab League with regards to the crackdown on corruption, and how might it impact the wider region?
Well, you've got the positive reaction from the Arab League and several countries calling for the Arab League, calling for all countries to take this path as well, to try to counter corruption, which has been a big headache in the whole region, not just Saudi Arabia. Many countries are trying to fight or crack down on corruption, including Egypt. And the statements have been positive from this side. But obviously you've got a lot of concerns, especially from the economic side and the business environment, where many of those detained and have their assets frozen are businessmen who have huge investments in countries like Egypt, in Morocco, in the Gulf nations, in Africa. people who have a lot of influence in the economies of several countries. Saudi Arabia, for example, is the largest investor in Egypt at $6.2 billion. So there is concern, and that's why the stock markets have plummeted this morning, on Sunday morning, because of after the news came up. And we expect more uncertainty until the investigations are clear. What will happen to the investments of these tycoons in other countries? So you have a positive aspect and obviously an aspect of concern. And you have to remember as well that Saudi Arabia itself is embarking on a huge $500 billion investment to try to build a new tourism sector. Saudi Arabia doesn't have tourism. So they're spending a lot of money coming up in the next few years, and they want to make sure that the money doesn't go in the wrong hands, is not corrupted. It needs the right people to take on the kingdom as it tries to rebuild a free economy with privatization, some things that were not available during the conservative old guard, if you may call it, personalities in power.
Well, thank you so much, Yasser Hakim, live for us there in Cairo on that corruption crackdown in Saudi Arabia.